Welcome back everyone to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today we have a huge video. We're going to be ranking all the November new releases that I did see in theaters and on streaming. I saw 22 new movies this month. That's a lot of movies. That's like the most movies I've watched in a month, new releases wise. It's a lot. Make sure you leave a like before we get started, but let's get right into that tier list. All right, before we get started, this might be a long video. I'm going to try to go fast for you guys, but if it is long, make sure to grab a snack. But let's go along with this long journey of November movies. This month was filled with ups and downs, just a lot coming out this month because the Thanksgiving holiday. Awards movies have started to come out. Next month's going to be even busier. I think we got even more awards movies next month. Let's start out with Leo. Leo is the new, Netflix animated film with Adam Sandler. He's a lizard, and Bill Burr is his friend, a turtle. So this one is a very weird film to go into. I was kind of worried that this one was going to be like really bad, really disappointing, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I do have a review up on the channel for this one, but this one is more childish than I thought it was going to be also. I'm okay with children's films. I do like Shrek films, Puss in Boot films, Megamind and all that. But if it's a little too childish, it's probably not for me. And I will say Leo is not for me. It's not made for me. If you have any smaller kids, they'll probably like it. It's like a musical about like giving, motivation and advice to these new fifth graders going into sixth grade. And Adam Sandler, it does have some, scenes that he does sing in. So it is a pretty interesting film. It is a pretty fun film at times, I would say. It's a little long for me. I think could have cut like 20 minutes out of this. Could have been easily like an hour and a half type of film. But, I think that it's a sweet film. It's a cute film. And some kids will like it a decent bit. I know it's not made for me. It's really childish. But Adam Sandler was putting on a weird accent. I don't know why he just didn't go with his normal voice. But it's pretty good as like a musical kind of motivational kid film for kids. So Leo, I'm gonna put it in the okay tier. Next up is Good Burger 2. If you're a big fan of the original Good Burger, I'm sorry, but I do not like the original Good Burger. I think it's pretty bad. None of that comedy really worked for me. I think it's fine if you like the film, have fun with it. I know Keenan and Kel are having fun with it, but none of the jokes really landed for me. I think the story is really one note. It really will land for you if you do like that really dumb comedy. And the second one, I would say the second one is really just not a film for me. It's really bad in my opinion. It didn't feel like a film. It just felt like a really long TikTok with some unnecessary cameos and just a script that seemed like it was written by a 5-year-old. No offense, but yeah, this script here was just even worse than the first one. This one made the first one feel like, a 5-star movie for me. I don't know if you even like the first one. I don't know if you're even gonna like the second one. It's cool to see, Keenan and Kel back for this one, but at the same time, it just feels like just such an, it just doesn't feel like a real film in my opinion. It just feels like a streaming film, which it is, but it also feels like just an hour and a half, TikTok film. It's very weird, and it wasn't for me. So Good Burger 2 going in the terrible tier. Next up is The Marsh King's Daughter. This is a new one with Daisy Ridley. Not a lot of people saw this one. It's a pretty small film. I did learn that though it was based off a book. It's a book adaptation, which is pretty interesting. I thought the story of this one, the premise of here, it's Daisy Ridley and her dad. Like, it's a very, messed up story. Actually, I don't want to spoil it for you guys because I do want people to go check this one out on streaming and all that. The premise of it, though, was really smart. If they went deeper into the premise and didn't go really, the first half, I actually liked a decent bit. The second half, it lost its premise, just went into that normal, like, action, thriller, intense route that I didn't care for. The first half, though, was pretty good. Daisy really did a great job, but overall, I felt like it just went into a total different direction than I wanted the film to go in the second half. I wonder if the book also went that way. I'm kind of interested in checking out the book because, the first half and the premise of this is really strong. Daisy Ridley's character was pretty interesting, but also pretty one note kind of character. So I think her character needs some work, and the second half of this movie needs some work. But I'm still going to put it in the okay tier because that first half was also pretty interesting, but I do recommend you guys check this one out. Next up is The Marvels, the newest Marvel film, or as I like to call it, Captain Marvel 2, because I think they should have just went for that title, even though they have that new team in this one. I think Captain Marvel 2 would have fit this one better box office wise, because it's not performing well at the box office. It's one of their biggest, flops, underperformers. And I do kind of feel bad because I thought that it's not as bad as people are saying. The performances by the three leading ladies are great. They have some great chemistry here. I do love Brie Larson in the role, but I think this one suffers from the same thing as the first one. The writing on the first one wasn't great. The writing here isn't that great. It's okay. It just isn't into a really good kind of tier that I wish the Marvel movies were at by now. And I will say, this one just falls under that same realm of a terrible villain. Not the worst villain in the MCU, but a top 5, top 3 worst villains for me. I just forgot about her whole story. She had like no backstory. It's kind of insane how they went there with her. And Nick Fury is also in this, and it's just a total 180 of his character in Secret Invasion. Just makes me feel like Secret Invasion just wasn't a real project. I cannot take that project seriously. But I will say the chemistry between the three leading ladies were great. I love the scenes where they're switching powers. That was very cool, especially the house fight in here. The Flurkins are also a nice addition here. The post-credit scene and ending are great, amazing. But when are we ever going to see them, the end of those post-credit scenes and endings? We have like 8 open-ended post-credit scenes. It's kind of bad and insane how Marvel will not they won't finish those post-credit scenes. They used to finish them after every movie, but now they're just leaving them open-ended. I don't think it really works for me. The action here could have been a lot better. I think the choreography was great in some scenes, but some scenes it felt a little wonky. So I wish it was better, but Iman Vellani, she did a great job here, and I hope she gets some more roles. So the Marvel's going in the okay tier. Next up, we have Nyad. This is a story about Diane Nyad. She's swimming from Cuba to Florida, and this is a pretty interesting film for me because I saw a lot of people, this is pretty divisive coming from the film festival, so I was kind of interested to see how this one was going to do and how Netflix was going to promote it. They haven't really promoted it. They don't really promote their new movies that much. It's going to be interesting to see how they promote Maestro and Rebel Moon. They come out 2 days after each other, 2 days before. So it's going to be interesting on that. The performances in Nyad by Jodie Foster and Annette Bening are really great. I love their performances here, but it's just a story that I didn't care about. It might just be because I don't really care about to see someone swim that far, even though that is an impressive feat. Like, I couldn't do that. That's really impressive for her to do. I don't know if it fits a movie, and I think this kind of biopic isn't really that interesting for me. I think a lot of older audiences might like it, but as, a youngster like me, I don't really know if I would really care about this movie a lot. It's and also swimming isn't my thing. I don't even know how to swim, so watching a movie just where she's in water just swimming the whole time, it didn't really make me feel that great. I didn't really care to continue watching it after the first watch. I mean, there's some great scenes in here, but the flashbacks in here also didn't work for me. I think the flashbacks were built kind of in an odd way. The directing was pretty good. The script was alright. I think the script needed some work. Overall, I think it's just a mixed film for me, so Nyad's going in the okay tier. Next up, though, we have Fingernails. This one is on Apple TV, and I really do recommend you all to go check this one out if you do have Apple TV. This one went way under the radar, came out, and then the next day, no one was ever talking about it. But this one is a pretty interesting film. It's all about, kind of about love and compatibility. What this film is kind of about is they basically have all these tests for people and these couples, and then they go through these tests, and then at the end they take off one of their fingernails and they put them in a machine to test if they're compatible, 100%, 50%, or 0%. It's very interesting how they do it. Very interesting how they explore love in this one. And Jessie Buckley is actually really great in this one. I think she's a very underrated actress. Riz Ahmed is also in this, and Jeremy Allen White. They both have pretty great roles. Riz Ahmed and Jessie Buckley have some great chemistry here. I loved where they took their story, and just talking about this film makes me want to rewatch it. I've been busy, so I haven't been able to rewatch this one, but I really want to rewatch it. I just love the story about compatibility going on here. I think it was a little long though. I think it could have been fixed in that area, but I still think this one was really well put together, and I really had a great time with this one. And if you go into this blind, I think you'll have a lot to like about this one. There's a lot of very heartwarming scenes in here, some very sad scenes, but I think it was a very well put together film, and I really liked it a lot just because the story of it is really great, and the whole cast did a great job in this one. So Fingernails going in the good tier. Next up, we have our first Christmas movie that I watched of this year, and it's November. A lot of new Christmas movies come out in November. The first one was Exmas. And, this one I wasn't really excited for because it is a Freevee original movie. The funny thing is, though, it felt so much like a Hallmark movie. Even though I haven't seen many Hallmark movies, I've maybe seen 2 or 3 in my life. This one felt extremely like a Hallmark movie. Felt like it had a budget of like $1 million or just below that. It was weird. And the story was, it's a story that we've seen many times in Christmas movies and, other kind of breakup movies. And I will say, I think Christmas movies are just getting harder to make for me because every time I see a Christmas movie, I feel like it's the exact same thing. And it feels like they're just not trying. They're just doing it to do it and to make a Christmas movie. And I think the cast here is pretty good. The script here is pretty dumb. I mean, it's a freebie original Christmas movie. There's nothing really, I don't think you get worse than that. Maybe a Hallmark Christmas movie is maybe worse than this. But it didn't work for me. I wish it did. I'm going to put it in the, I can't think about this. I'm going to put it in the bad tier. I think it's just under that bad tier. Next up, we're going to switch it up. We're going to go for another Christmas movie, which is Dashing Through the Snow on Disney. This is a pretty interesting one for Disney to drop because it didn't feel like a Disney movie. This one has Ludacris in it from the Fast and Furious franchise and all that. And I thought he did an okay job. This one is just like Exmas, a really half-baked script and a story that I don't care about. And it is really long. This one felt like it was 2.5 hours, but I know it wasn't 2.5 hours. It was just paced really slowly. And it's just a story I didn't care about. I thought the performances by every lead was pretty cool and pretty good. But as I said, it just felt so long. The whole story, didn't care about. The script was really weak. So the two kind of Christmas movies this month were not great for me. I thought they were pretty weak. And next up, we got The Killer, Netflix new movie, David Fincher's new movie. I do have the review up on the channel. This one just surprised the heck out of me. I know I shouldn't say that because it's a David Fincher film. Of course, it's going to be good. But I was just surprised at how precise this movie was. It's a movie about a precise killer. So, of course, it has to be a little precise. But, every single scene had a meaning, I think. In every single way the killer moved around, everything, how he did his thing was pretty precise, except for that one mess up he had at the beginning that really starts his story. But this is so interesting because the first 20 minutes of this movie, you shouldn't turn off if you're like bored of it. It's just so cool how it takes you on the journey of just his normal life, the killer's normal life, how he just has to set everything up, be so precise, not move for so long, just have the insanely low heartbeat. So that first 20 minutes, I love more than a lot of other people. I think it just works so well as a film from like a filmmaker's perspective and from a precise filmmaker's perspective. I'm not even saying I'm a filmmaker, but that is really great. Cinematography is really great here. Kind of like it's kind of like I don't know. It's not like showy cinematography, but I liked it a lot. And Michael Fassbender, I think he had a great performance here. It's a really low-key performance, really serious performance, and I thought he did great. And it's a performance where he doesn't talk a lot, so it's interesting how he had to play this one out. And there's one fight scene here that I think is one of the best fight scenes of the year. It's when the killer is going against this big guy. It's like a guy that weighs like 150 pounds more than the killer. It's an intense fight just in the house. He's getting thrown around. And if you haven't seen it and you don't want to watch The Killer, I would say just to watch that fight scene. It's probably on YouTube. It is really intense. Honestly, I was just starstruck and my jaw was dropped when I was watching that fight scene because I was like, oh my gosh, David Fincher is still that guy. It's not David Fincher's best film. I'd say it's probably like top 5 for me. I haven't seen all of his films yet, but it's a really great film. So The Killer is going in the great tier. All right, next up, we're going to go with the Please Don't Destroy movie. This is kind of like if you know the Please Don't Destroy skit and 3 guys off SNL, then you kind of know who these people are in this movie. And the trailer for this one actually looked pretty fun. I was pretty interested in it. It was just a comedy type of film. But I will say the point of this film got so drawn out for me. It felt super long. Felt like this one could have just worked as a skit, which is pretty funny because all they do is make skits. So I thought this one's pretty interesting how it could have just worked as a 30-minute skit. Because I would say all the really funny parts are like in the 30-minute to 40-minute ratio. Before that is where all the funny parts are. After that, the second half just felt so drawn out. Every single joke in the second half just felt like they just kept going. They just wouldn't stop joking about it. And I was like, you guys stop drawing this out. It's just not working for me at that point. And I thought it just fell apart at the second half. Some of the first act is pretty fun, I would say. Some of it's pretty funny. But once you get to that second half, I don't think it really worked anymore. I thought the script just got a lot weaker. I think that they stopped trying a little bit. So Please Don't Destroy movie going in the bad tier for me. Next up is The Quiz Lady in this movie. This movie has Awkwafina, Sandra Oh. Jason Schwartzman is also in this movie. He's having a great month with this and Hunger Games and a whole great year with all of his other movies. But this one is kind of about, these two sisters, Sandra Oh and Awkwafina's characters. One Awkwafina's character is really good at this kind of Jeopardy show that's on TV. She gets all the questions right. So they're going on a road trip to enter her into this show. And I do love movies like this where you kind of have a person who's like really smart can answer all these questions. And I think that I can just eat that up every single day. But I was worried about this movie because I'm not the biggest fan of Awkwafina in movies, especially comedy movies. I think she's gotten a little too overused for me in the spotlight. I like her in the serious roles. I think the comedy roles is just too much for me at this point. But I did love, there's some serious moments at the end with her and Sandra Oh, and I did love their chemistry here. I thought they both did a great job together. There's some big names in this one. Will Ferrell also has a small role. Very happy to see him show up. It's a very, fun cameo-filled movie on Hulu, so if you want to go watch it, I think you'll have a fun time. It's a little long for me. It overstayed its welcome just a bit for me, but Quiz Lady I'd still put in the okay tier. Next up is It's a Wonderful Life. This is kind of like a spin on It's a Wonderful Life, another Christmas movie, another Christmas holiday movie, I would say. This cast is like filled with a lot of unknowns for me. I didn't really know a lot of people in this movie. Justin Long, though, is in this movie, and he is on something. Like, his character is extremely odd, extremely sadistic, crazy character. It felt like Justin Long just went on set after taking like a lot of drugs and just they called action. He just started acting because that's just what his character felt like. His character is very odd in here. The killer in this one is pretty fun. There's some pretty cool kills. I wish it did, go a little bit more serious, a little more darker with those kills and all that. I wish we had some more kills. That would have been kind of fun. It does have the aspect of It's a Wonderful Life, so you probably know what the story is for this one. It's a little silly by that second half, but the first half was pretty cool. I liked everything that was going on in here, but if it was a little bit more serious, I thought it could have been great. But I'm just going to put it in the okay tier. I think that's where I'd put it. Next up, we got Thanksgiving. This is the Thanksgiving-themed horror movie. We have Christmas-themed horror movies. Now we have Thanksgiving-themed horror movies. It's kind of insane. This movie, I would say, is really over the top, especially gore-wise. They don't shy away from gore here. There's some insane kills, especially with like a trampoline and with an oven. I was not prepared for some of these kills. I had to look away from some of them just because it's so weird. And there's also one with the shopping cart. I was just, I had to turn away from that one. It was just not for me. If you like going Black Friday shopping or Thanksgiving a lot, then you'll probably like this movie a decent bit. I had fun with it a lot. It's my first Eli Roth movie. I haven't seen any of his other movies, and I thought he did a great job directing. It does go a little too silly for me at some points, but I think that was the point. I wish they did delve deeper into our characters because I think the characters are all pretty one note. You don't really know too much about them at points. Addison Rae is probably, she's in this movie, and I wasn't very impressed by her acting in her little Netflix movie that she had, but her acting in here was actually pretty impressive. She upgraded a lot, but I wish we saw her character a little bit more. She's not the main star. I kind of wish she was because she had some pretty fun moments in this movie, but I wish she had a lot more to do. But I will say it's a fun movie. I think John Carver will be a horror icon, and I'm hoping we get a sequel because I think it's doing pretty well at the box office. So Thanksgiving, I'm going to put in the good tier. Next up, we have Trolls Band Together. This is kind of like Leo, another childish film that was never made for me. It's made for people's children to go watch when they don't want to watch them anymore. And the Trolls movies have never really been my favorite. I watched them all in like a span of a week. The second one is probably the weakest one out of them all. This one, I would say, is actually the best out of all of them because I think this one works a lot better relationship-wise between, Anna Kendrick's character and Justin Timberlake. I think they're really good in this cast. I love their voice work in here, especially Anna Kendrick. She's doing a great job, and I think she really enjoys this role a lot. I thought some of the, the singing scenes in here were actually pretty fun. Loved some of the songs that they picked. And it does feel a little long, does drag a little bit for a kid's movie, I would say. And the villains actually were pretty cool. The villains worked for me in this one more than they did for the other two. So that's an insane plus for me because sometimes villains in children's movies don't work. Thought that they worked in here, but I had a fun time. I love the colorful animation that they do with the Trolls movies. All the trolls are different colors. It's a lot of weird things that go on in this movie, but I will say it's just the cast that does it for me. It's an insane stacked cast, so I really did like it a lot. But it's not made for me. Some childish moments didn't work for me, so I just put it in the okay tier. Next up, we have Next Goal Wins. This is Taika Waititi's newest film about the America Samoa soccer team, how they're like the worst team ever. They never scored a goal, and they had a game where they lost like 33-0 or something like that. I saw this one at the Regal Mystery Movie just a couple weeks ago, so I got to see it a little bit early, which is pretty exciting. But it kind of does fall under that trap of Taika Waititi's last film, Thor: Love and Thunder, where it's just a little too silly for me. I mean, I had fun with this movie, but it's to the point where Taika Waititi needs to go back to his serious roots, because this one needed some serious moments. He went for one serious moment at the end when it's kind of like a voiceover in the ending. I didn't think it worked at all. I thought it was a pretty cheap serious moment. I think that would have worked better if we just saw the soccer play out rather than a commentary over the soccer. And the soccer scenes, I wish we kind of got more of them. Michael Fassbender is also in this. He was in The Killer, and this it's a very different role from The Killer. It's a very funny role. He's just a weird soccer coach that doesn't really have a care in the world, kind of a rude one too. And I thought he carried the movie. He did a great job here. I really do love Michael Fassbender. I think he's a funny guy, great actor. I think all the soccer players in this one did great. None of them have too big of roles. They all have to share the screen with each other. And I had a fun time with you. Taika Waititi has a role in this, and it's just really silly, really stupid. I don't think you need to have a role in this movie. So, I had fun with it. It's not a movie that, I would go back to. I think a lot of people will like this on streaming. But Next Goal Wins, just going in the okay tier for me. Next up, we got Rustin. This is Netflix's new kind of like awards player film that they had. This about Rustin, who led the March on Washington with Martin Luther King Jr. It's a big, inspiring kind of film for me. And I was kind of disappointed with this one because it got a lot of hype out of, the fall film festivals and all that. I think Coleman Domingo has an amazing performance. I think he might get nominated for an Oscar for this one. It's a really legendary, really inspiring performance by him. But the movie as a whole, I think it just falls flat because it just feels like every other biopic this year that I haven't liked as much as I wanted to. Falls under the same tropes, just the same execution as every other one. There's some great scenes in here, especially some of the black and white scenes are really great. But at the same time, it feels a bit long for me, a bit slow paced. I wish it was just a bit better. Even the performances are great, as Coleman Domingo just does a great job as Rustin. I love the set design, costume design of the old world and all that. And I just feel like it's a very inspiring movie. I feel like a lot of people find something to love about this one. So it is on Netflix if you haven't checked it out yet, but it's also going in the okay tier. We have a lot of okay movies this month. Next up, we have Priscilla. This is Sofia Coppola's newest film, and the only other Sofia Coppola movie I've seen is Lost in Translation. And I didn't really like Lost in Translation that much, which is odd because a lot of people love that movie. I just didn't feel like it had any story. I didn't really care for the characters at all. But this one I was very excited for because it was coming from A24. It's of course based off Priscilla's book, but I haven't really read that. But I was interested to see Priscilla's story of, her side of the story of the Elvis and Priscilla relationship, how that all went down, because there's lots of controversy around their relationship and all that. But I like to see her story of it. And this film is really stylistic. I love the style here, just like how I just love the style of movies, and if they look pretty, this one does look pretty. And I love the costume design. I think it could maybe get a costume design nomination for the Oscars. I'd like it to happen if it's a surprise nomination. That'd be pretty cool. The production design was also pretty great. Kaylee Spaney as Priscilla did an amazing job. I don't think I've seen her anything except this. I thought she did great. She's gonna be in the new Alien movie next year, so I'm very excited to see her in that. Jake Elordi doing a great job this month. I thought he did great as Elvis in here. I don't really want to compare him and Austin Butler's Elvis. They kind of both, fit the same wheel. I mean, Jacob Elordi didn't really have to sing because they couldn't use the Elvis music. But I thought the music choices in here were really great, even if they couldn't use the Elvis music. The film kind of, went on for a little long by the end. Could have cut maybe 10 minutes off of it. But I really did think this one's great. The style of the film is great. The whole emotional feels aspect of it were great. So Priscilla, going in the great tier. Next up, we have Saltburn. This is Emerald Fennell's newest movie, her second movie. Her first movie is Promising Young Woman. If you guys seen it, I think it's pretty good. The ending just doesn't work for me on that one, but I was very surprised with Saltburn. The execution of here was so much better than Promising Young Woman. The ending worked a lot more for me in this one. Even though it's a really risky ending, I would say, really divisive ending. This whole movie is probably going to be really divisive for a lot of people, but I'm on the side of really loving it. I think this one is straight up amazing. I ate it up. It's a very messed up movie, very rated R, has a lot of nudity, bodily fluids and all that. So only watch it if you're ready for all that. And, I would say that this film is just, the style of this film is popping off the screen. They use the 1:3 aspect ratio. Linus Sandgren did the cinematography, and he is just one of my favorites right now. Working Greg Fraser and Linus Sandgren, two of my favorites right now. Because Linus Sandgren did Babylon, No Time to Die, First Man, La La Land. His cinematography is kind of unmatched. I just love it. He has some great style with his cinematography, some great shots. I love how he set up kind of the Saltburn State, how he shot that. because it's a very tall estate, and the 1:3 aspect ratio really helped because it goes top to bottom. You have black bars on the left and right. I think it helped a lot with this one. I'm very happy to see Barry Keoghan in a big leading role here. I think he just does it great, especially with his weird character on his weird journey that he's on. Jacob Elordi and him have some great chemistry. As I said, Jacob Elordi having a great month with this and Priscilla. He's really doing great. He's not going to get nominated for best, actor in any of these, or Barry Keoghan. I wish Barry Keoghan would get a nomination because he's one of my favorite performances of the year. I'm hoping that Saltburn can get a nomination for best cinematography because I thought, Linus Sandgren just knocked it out of the park. Emerald Fennell, good for her. Her second film is crazy good, and I just can't wait to rewatch it. I've already seen it twice. I want to go watch it again. You go see this one blind if you haven't, but Saltburn is going in the amazing tier. Next up, we got Napoleon. This is Ridley Scott's newest film, and I'll say this is a Ridley Scott miss for me. I wish this film was great because the trailers just got me so hyped up. Every time I saw a trailer in like IMAX, I was just floored. I just had my eyes just glued to the screen. I was so ready for this movie. But man, this 2.5-hour movie felt longer than Killers of the Flower Moon. Killers of the Flower Moon was 3.5 hours. This one felt like it was 4 hours. And that's funny to say because they have a 4-hour cut planned to release on Apple TV in probably the next couple months. They're going to keep this one in theater exclusively for a little bit. Because there's a lot of pacing issues here. It just feels like an hour was plucked out of this movie because you go from, time period to time period to battle to battle to battle, and there's like no room. There's no room to breathe. Some scenes feel super long. Some scenes feel super fast. I feel like the 4-hour cut might help. I'll watch that when it gets on there, but this one didn't work a lot for me. I really did wish it worked for me. It's really just disappointing. Some of the battle sequences were pretty cool. I liked how they were shot, but the film as a whole is also pretty gray. Not a lot of color here, and sadly, Joaquin Phoenix did feel miscast for me, or it just didn't feel like he was trying. I wish he did try a little bit harder for this one because he was really great in Beau's Afraid this year. Vanessa Kirby was really good as Josephine, but she did not have a lot to do. I wish she had more to do, maybe in that 4-hour cut. We'll see. But Napoleon, I'm not going to the bad tier. I'm going to go for the okay tier on this one. Next up, we got Disney's new animated film, Wish. This one starring Ariana DeBose, Chris Pine. And I will say this one, I can't say it was a letdown because I didn't have many expectations for this one. But it's just another Disney movie that isn't great. We haven't had a great Disney movie since Encanto, which was a decent amount a couple years ago, which is kind of disappointing. Disney's just been off the rocker quality wise. Maybe Bob Iger will get it back on track. He's starting to make like Frozen and all that. All the Frozen movies are coming back, so hopefully they get back on track. Ariana DeBose, Chris Pine, they do great. They have some great voice work. This is kind of like a celebration of Disney 100, so there's not a lot of Disney references. Kind of too many for me. Kind of took me out of the film. There's a little star in here. I think the star is pretty cool. The goat is also pretty funny. The songs, though, aren't memorable. Usually Disney movies have some memorable songs, but they're really just not memorable. I thought that the quality of the songs weren't great. The animation also wasn't for me. Some people really love the animation. It just didn't feel like there's a lot of love in this world. The animation didn't feel like the world is alive. You go to a Disney movie to see this new world, see the whole world be alive with this great animation. But the whole world just felt so dull, and the animation just felt so dull and lifeless for me. So Wish, it's not bad, but it's just going in the okay tier for me. Next up, we got The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It's been 8 years since Mockingjay, and we finally have another one. This is the only one I've actually read the book for. So as you can tell, I was very excited to go watch this movie, and I had a great time with it. I think that the story here was really great. I've seen a lot of people say they want a Haymitch movie, Haymitch like trilogy. I think that would be really cool. It would be interesting who they'd cast as Haymitch. I would be very excited for that movie. But this one is pretty interesting because you see the origin of Snow and his descent into evil. I really do love the stories of like a descent into evil. Character starts out kind of happy, then they go into the more mad aspect of their life. And I really love that. Tom Blythe did a great job. This is the first movie I've ever seen him in. He did great. Rachel Zegler, her voice is just so electric. I loved her in this role. She has a lot of hate right now, but I thought she did great here. The production design and costume design here were really great. I love the style of this movie too. Looked amazing. And I think that, the Hunger Games in this movie worked very well. They're very entertaining. It's funny though, in the Hunger Games in this book aren't that great. They're very boring, I would say. And, Peter Dinklage is also in this. He has a small role, but I think he does great with what he does here, what he was given to do. And Viola Davis is like the villainous character in this movie, and she was actually very scary. especially the way she looks in this one. The costume design and makeup department did a great job on her, but she is a scary villain here. The third act is a little bit weaker than the first 2 acts. It would have worked better as like a 2-parter, but that would have been kind of hard for them to do. It's a very serious, very dark Hunger Games movie, which I got along with a lot. I think it works a lot. So Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, going in the great tier. The last one we got is The Holdovers. This is a Christmas movie this month. The only Christmas movie that worked for me this month. It is an amazing Christmas movie coming out on digital probably pretty soon. So make sure to check this one out, even in theaters or in digital. But if you watch this with your family, you'll have a great time. It's a very fun film to watch with an audience. It's a very funny film, I would say. Paul Giamatti is hilarious. Probably the best he's ever been, in my opinion. Dominic Sessa, this is his first acting performance in here, acting debut here. He does great. Divine Joy Randolph is probably my favorite to win Best Supporting Actress right now. I just think that the trio there has some insane chemistry. They do great. And it has some very sad moments, very heartwarming moments, just some very funny moments in here. And it feels like a 70s movie. It was shot on digital, but it just looks like it was shot on film, how it's made and all that. And I just love the feel of the movie. So cozy, so Christmassy, just takes place in the winter. It takes place by Christmas. There's a lot of snow in the movie. And as I said, it's so funny. It's so funny. It's so sad at times. But it leaves you just, it leaves you just wanting to stay in this world, stay in this movie for a long periods of time. And I kind of wish it was longer because I just love the relationships that we built with these characters over time. And I think a lot of people will like it. I'm going to definitely watch this at least Christmas Eve or on Christmas morning because it's that good. It just has, it's got me in the feels, and I just can't wait to watch it like every month when I own it. It is going in the amazing tier. Now it's time for our final ranking. We have a lot of movies, as I said. And as we can see, a lot of movies ended up just being okay with this month, which is kind of sad, but we had a lot of actually pretty great movies too. That's what happens when we see a lot of movies. Some are going to be just okay. Some are going to be amazing. Let's get to the terrible tier. Sorry, Good Burger 2. It just felt like a TikTok film for me, a long TikTok. The bad tier, I'm going to put the Please Don't Destroy movie at the top, then Exmas in the middle, then Dashing Through the Snow. I thought those are pretty weak, but Dashing Through the Snow felt a lot weaker. Next up, we have the okay tier. This is going to be a lot harder to rank these movies. I'm going to put Rustin at the top. Then we're going to go Next Goal Wins because I had fun with it. And then at the bottom, let's go over the bottom first. That's going to be interesting. The bottom, I'm going to put Quiz Lady. And then we're going to go Leo. Leo's going to be at the bottom. And then I'm going to go Nyad just because it's a swimming movie. I don't want to watch a swimming movie again. No, thank you. Actually, I'm going to put The Marsh King's Daughter below Quiz Lady. I think that works a little bit better for me. And then we're going to go Napoleon up top. And then probably, I don't know if I like The Marvels more than Wish. I think I do. And then I'd probably put Trolls Band Together above It's a Wonderful Life. Because that okay tier looks a bit better for me. I actually like The Marvels decent bit better than a lot of other people. On the good tier, we got Fingernails and Thanksgiving. I'd probably leave it like that because Fingernails has that aspect of love and compatibility, which I really do like in a movie. I think it's more serious, so I do like it more than Thanksgiving. The great tier, we got 3 movies here, and I think, man, this tier is actually very hard because these are very close to my rankings. But if I were to rank them, I'd probably go Priscilla atop, and then The Killer, and then The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I just think they're all amazing, all pretty great, and I just have a lot of fun with them. Pretty rewatchable too. The Killer is probably the least rewatchable out of them all, but it's just such a precise movie. So cool to just focus on the details of that one. In the amazing tier, we had 2 amazing movies this month. That's pretty cool. I don't know how many we'll have in December, but 2 in November is a pretty good number. Saltburn and The Holdovers. Which one do I want to put in front of the other? I think The Holdovers is closer to being a perfect film than Saltburn, so I'm going to put The Holdovers over Saltburn. But I just cannot explain enough how crazy Saltburn is and how you guys need to go check that one out. Just going blind on that one. But these are my rankings for all the November new releases that I did see this month. Leave your rankings down below in the comments. Let me know what was your favorite movie you watched this month. I'm really interested in hearing that. But make sure you leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 500 subscribers. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.